Hello everyone. In our previous video, we calculated mean using assumed mean method. We solved a problem using that method. In this video, we are going to calculate a mean using step deviation method. This is a shortcut method. Is just similar to assumed mean method. The only difference is that in step deviation method, mean is equals to a plus I times the mean of t. A is the assumed mean plus I is the class interval times the mean of t. In assumed mean method, mean is equals to a plus the mean of t. So the only difference between the two formulas is I, the class interval. We are multiplying the class interval to the mean of t in the step deviation method, while in assumed mean method, we are not multiplying the class interval to the mean of t. Also, there's a difference in the structure of frequency distribution table. We are going to solve the same question that we solved using assumed mean method. And the question reads, the data below shows the time taken by 30 athletes who took part in 400 meters heats. These are the data given, and the question wants us to find the mean. So in our frequency distribution table, we need at least 5 to 6 columns. We start with 6 columns, and these are the 6 columns that we need in our frequency distribution table. The class column, the midpoint column, the deviation column, the T and frequency and FT columns. In our frequency distribution table, these are the 5 columns that we have in our frequency distribution table. 6 columns, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I entered the values of the class column, and we have said the class column and the frequency column are always given in the question. These are the values of the class column, and these are the values of the frequency column. You only need to fill those columns. So we need to fill the midpoint column, the D column, T column, and FT column. And in our previous video, we have said the midpoint, the values of the midpoint column are calculated using this formula. We add the upper limits to lower limits, then we divide by 2. So if we add 46 to 43 and then divide by 2, the average that we are going to get is 44.5. Likewise, if we add 47 to 50 and then divide by 2, we are going to get 48.5. The rest values you can find by adding the class length to the current value. And we have said the class length is calculated using this formula. Class length, or sometimes it is called class intervals, abbreviated with the letter I. Sometimes it is also called a class width or class height. Class length or class interval is equals to upper limit minus lower limit plus 1. We are adding 1. 46 is the upper limit of the class and 43 is the lower limit of the class. If we subtract these two, we are going to get 3. 46 minus 43, it is 3. Then we add 1. Because we are adding 1 because the lower limit is included. So our glass length is 4. If we add 4 to 44.5, we are going to get 48.5. And then if you add 48.5 to 4, we are going to get 52.5. 52.5 plus 4, 56.5. 56.5 plus 4, and 56.4. 56.5 plus 4, it is 60.5, and here is 64.5. So we need now to also fill this column D, and the formula of calculating column D, values of column D, is this one. We subtract x minus a. X is the midpoint values of the midpoint column. X values of the midpoint column. These are the values of x. We subtract the values of x, and we subtract the values of mean, assumed mean, from the values of midpoint x, and a is the assumed mean. A is the assumed mean. So if we subtract the values of x, or values of midpoint, 44.5 minus a, and a is the assumed mean. A is the assumed mean. We have said in the previous video that assumed mean, you can take the value of the assumed mean from the midpoint, values. You can take any number from this column, any value from this column. So let's say our assumed mean a is equals to, you can take any number 56.5. In the previous video, when we are solving a mean using assumed mean method, we have taken 52.5. So let's take 56.5 as our assumed mean, and we have said you have the right to take any value from this column as your assumed mean. So we have the value of a, which is the assumed mean, and the x are these values. So we subtract 44.5 minus a, which is 56.5, we are going to get negative 12. 48.5 minus 56.5, you are going to get negative 8. Then we can fill the rest column by just adding the glass length, or glass interval. Our glass interval is 4. So if we add negative 4 plus 4, we are going to get negative 8. Negative 8 plus 4, we are going to get negative 4. Negative 4 plus 8, 4, we are going to get 0. Negative 0 plus 4, you're going to get 4, and 4 plus 4, you're going to get 8. You can use that way, which is very easy indeed. Or you can subtract. You can go the long way. You can subtract values of x from values of x and mean. Now we fill this column. Let's now fill the next column, which is t. And we can calculate this column t using this formula. D is the deviation column. D is the deviation column, and I is the glass interval. So we divide this column, D column, with the glass interval to get the values of T column. So if we divide negative 12 divided by I is the glass length or glass interval, and our glass length or glass interval was 4. So negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. Negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. So 0 divided by 4 is 0. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. We fill this column. There's also an easy way of filling this column. you just need to divide. You just need from the D column the values of Z, the corresponding value of Z of 0, you put 0 to the corresponding value of T. Then above 0 you subtract -1. Below 0 you add +1. So it is 0. If you subtract -1, it is -1, -2, -3. If you add +1, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So the frequency column, we have said 2 columns are given in our question. That are the class column values and the frequency column values. So we only need to fill this column 0, 3, 12, 10, 4, and 1. The last column is ft. We just multiply t and f to get the values of this column. So -3 times 0, I'm going to get 0. -2 times 3, -6. -1 times 12, -12. 0 times 10, 10. 0, sorry. 0 times 10, 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Now we are going to get the summation of f, a summation of f. If we add all these, we are going to get 30. And the summation of ft, if we add all these, negative. So summation of ft is equals to -12. And then we'll be calculating mean. Mean is equals to x bar is equals to x bar is equals to a plus summation of ft over summation of f times I. And our I is the class interval. I is the class interval. You subtract the upper limit and the lower limit, then you add 1. Then our I is equals to 4. Our class length is equals to, our class interval is equals to 4. We subtract 66 minus 63 plus 1, we are getting 4. So, and our assumed mean is 56.5. So, 56.5 plus the summation of ft. Summation of ft is -12 over summation of f, which is 30, times class length, which is 4. So here we are getting 56.5. Here, if you multiply, we are going to get, you can use even calculator, we are going to get 1.6. So plus minus, it is minus 1.6. If we subtract 56.5 minus 1.6, we're going to get 54.9. The same answer that we got when we are using assumed mean method and even direct method. So we are done with mean, and the coming video we'll be looking at median, how to calculate median, quartiles, deciles, and percentiles. Please be ready and practice, revise, and please, if you are new to our channel, please subscribe and click the notification bell. Thank you.